Let's take this passage now. We have a passage on the left hand side and we have 5 questions. We will read the passage first and then we will take all the questions. It says here this year alone more than 8,600 stores could close according to industry estimates. Many of them the brand name anchor outlets that real estate developers once stumbled over themselves to quote. Already there have been 5,300 retail closings this year. Shares holdings which owns Kmart said in March that there is substantial doubt it can stay in business altogether and will close 300 stores this year. So far, this year, 9 national retail chains have filed for bankruptcy. So, what do we have in the passage? The author says that there are so many retail stores that are closing down, right? This is the primary purpose of the first paragraph. The author says local jobs are a major casualty of what analysts are calling. So, local jobs are a casualty of what? Casualty of the stores closing down. With only a hint of hyperbole, the retail apocalypse. Since 2002, department stores have lost 4,48,000 jobs, a 25% decline, while the number of store closures this year is on pace to surpass the worst depths of the Great Recession. The growth of online retailers, meanwhile, has failed to offset those losses, with the e-commerce sector adding just 78,000 jobs over the past 15 years. Some of those jobs can be found in the massive distribution centers Amazon has opened across the country, often not too far from malls from the company. Uh, Not too far from the malls the company helped shutter. Now, what do we have in this paragraph? The author says since 02 department stores have closed for 48,000 jobs, 25% decline. Now, in this paragraph, the author focuses on the statistical information about what has been the impact of the closing of these stores. So, in the first paragraph, it says that a number of stores are closing down, they are retail store outlets, and then in the second paragraph, it talks about the impact of those closures on the job losses. And then he says that though Amazon has added 78,000 jobs, this is nowhere close to the number of jobs that have been lost. So the loss is 4,48,000, but the job creation is 48,000. But those are workplaces, not gathering places. The author says that these places created by Amazon are workplaces, not gathering places. The mall is both. And in the 61 years since the first enclosed one in suburban Minneapolis, and in the 61 years since the first enclosed one opened in suburban Minneapolis, the shopping mall has been where a huge swath of middle class America went for far more than shopping. It was a home of first jobs and blind dates through the same doors and find something they all liked. Sure, the food was lousy for you, and the oceans of parking lots encouraged car heavy development, something now scorned by contemporary planners. But for better or worse, the mall has been America's public square. So, what is the focus here? The author comes back to malls. He says the stores are closing down, jobs are being lost, and Amazon has created some jobs. But then he goes and takes a sudden turn. He says that the workplaces by Amazon are workplaces. They are not gathering places. And he says that the mall is a gathering place. People from all walks of life come there and they spend time. So what happens when it disappears? Now the question is, what happens when it refers to mall? What happens when a mall disappears? Think of your mall, or think of the one you went to as a kid. Think of the perfume clouds in the department stores, the fountains splashing below the skylights, the cinnamon wafting from the food court. As far back as ancient Greece, societies have congregated around a central marketplace. In medieval Europe, they were outside cathedrals. For half of the 20th century and almost 20 years into the new one, much of America has found their agora on the terrazzo between Orange Julius and so look at these names. These are names of shopping places. They are shopping chains, right? And he says that as far back as ancient Greece, societies have congregated around a central marketplace. So the author says that in medieval Europe they were outside cathedrals, so people have gathered in marketplaces in cathedrals. And for half of the 20th century, almost 20 years into the new one, much of America has found their agora. Agora basically means public place in the malls. So American people found gathering place in the malls. That mall was an ecosystem unto itself, a combination of community and commercialism, peddling everything you needed and everything you didn't, magic eye posters, and so on and so forth. A growing number of Americans, however, don't see the need to go to any Macy's at all. Our digital lives are frictionless and ruthlessly efficient, with retail and romance available at a click. Malls were designed for leisure, abundance, gambling. You parked and planned to spend some time. Today, much of that. time has been given over to busier lives and second jobs and apps that you let swipe right instead of haunt the food court. Malls, says Harvard business professor Leonard Schlesinger, were built for patterns of social interaction that increasingly don't exist. So, if you read the paragraph, there are two different parts in this paragraph. In this passage, the first part of the passage talks about the closure of the stores and its impact on job losses, though he says that jobs are being created but they're not as many in number as the jobs lost. And then the author says that, well, the malls were not just a place to shop, they were a place where people could hang out, they could gather, they could spend time. It was basically a place of social interaction, and he goes on till the end discussing those things, right? So it's an easy passage, not difficult to understand. We can go ahead and directly take the questions. It says the central idea of the passage is that, correct? So we have to pick the central idea, and we have to first read the choices and then check which one is very close to what the author wants to say. Is A says the closure of malls has affected the economic and social life of middle class America. The malls definitely have closed, there is no doubt about it, and there is some economic effect as well. But the author's main focus is not on the economic effect, he's focusing more on the social side. And it is not affecting, see, understand this, the author has not said that it is affecting the social life of middle class America. If you read C and if you read A, you will get a fair understanding. C says malls used to perform a social function. The passage talks about the social function of the mall, and the social function of the mall was that it became a medium where people could gather and interact and socialize. So the malls have closed, and with the closure, a social function has been lost. Now you might wonder, how is social function different from social life? Social life might be there in spite of the malls. See, understand this. The malls have closed, people's social life has gone ahead the way it would have gone. The point is, when you talk about social life, you basically talk about people's social life in general. The closure of the malls has happened, and the malls performed a certain function of public gathering. That is no more there. So you can't say that people's social life has been badly affected or adversely affected or has been affected at all. Understand this. There's a difference between social function and social life. The author talks about the malls having a social function to perform. Whereas option A says that a closure of malls has affected social life in America. Now, that is not known to us. The malls might have closed, a social function has been lost, and that social function might have been replaced by something else. So, social life might have gone ahead very beautifully in spite of the closure of the malls. So, we can't pick A, we have to pick C because A is definitely wrongly worded. You can't say social life. It's a social function of the mall that the passage is focusing on primarily. B definitely goes on because the author is not discussing the advantages or disadvantages. He is not comparing any of the disadvantages of the malls. And then D says malls are closing down because people have found alternate ways to shop. Now, this might seem true, but this is not the central idea. People have found alternate ways to shop, and the last paragraph does talk about it. But the major focus is that malls are places where you gather, where you chat, where you meet people, and that seems to be the focus of the passage, and therefore C is definitely better than D. Now let's go and take the second question. The author says, why does the author say in paragraph 2 the massive distribution centers Amazon has opened across the country, often not too far from the malls the company helped shutter? So what do you mean by this? That Amazon has opened massive distribution centers, है ना, not too far from the malls. So why does the author say this? Correct? Now have a look at the second paragraph. The second paragraph here says that some of those, so here we have that thing. He says the growth of online retailers meanwhile has failed to offset those losses, with the e-commerce sector adding just 78,000 jobs over the past 15 years. Some of those jobs can be found in the massive distribution centers Amazon has opened. Some of those jobs can be found in the massive distribution centers Amazon has opened across the country, often not too far from the malls the company has helped shutter. Now, what is the purpose of using this phrase that massive distribution centers not too far from the malls? What is he highlighting? Now, the point is that many of you might wonder, because this is where reading between the lines becomes very important. It is highlighting the irony of the situation. What is the irony of the situation? Now, what do you mean by irony or ironical? The author says that some of those jobs can be found in the massive distribution centers Amazon has opened. often not too far from the malls the company helped shutter. The company here refers to Amazon. So Amazon has helped shutter some of the malls, and not far away from those places, they have opened massive distribution centers. Now, what is the author highlighting through this? The author is highlighting the irony of the situation. You have to understand that he is highlighting the irony of the situation. What do you mean by irony? Many of us don't understand properly the meaning of the word irony. Irony is basically something which is amusing and contrasting. Understand this. So there has to be something which is amusing. Not all facts are amusing. If you say that Joe Biden is the president of the US, that is not an amusing fact. But if you say that Pakistan is an Islamic state, but its prime minister is a Hindu, then it's an amusing fact. It's ironical. Irony must have a contrast. That is very, very important. So, for irony, a contrast must be there, and there must be something amusing about it. Not exactly funny, but sarcastically amusing about it. And that is what the author is highlighting. He says that Amazon has helped close some of those malls, and they have opened massive distribution centers not far away from those malls. Now, look at the irony. You get something closed, and it results in job losses, and you basically open a distribution center not far away from those places. So this is what happens. You know what it means? That you kill a man and you dig his graveyard, and then you open some sort of, let's say, some sort of orphanage in the name of that person. Now that is irony. You're killing a person, and not far away from the place where he's buried, you open an orphanage in the name of that person. Now, what am I trying to show? I'm trying to highlight the irony of the situation. Options B, C, D, and have taken that literally. They say B says to indicate that malls and distribution centers are located in the same area. Of course, he can say that, but that is not the purpose. The purpose is that there is a bit of amusing contrast and irony in the situation. So to show that Amazon is helping certain brands, where are the brands? We don't see any brands here. To indicate that the shopping malls of the habit, again, the habits of American middle class have changed. What has that to do with Amazon opening massive distribution centers? And why should the author highlight that not too far from the malls? We could have removed this part if he had to highlight the point mentioned in D. So he's trying to highlight the irony of the situation. We must understand the word irony, and this is something what we call as reading between the lines. You cannot always prove these kind of choices. The author calls the mall an ecosystem. Now the word ecosystem has come in the passage. If you go here, you will find that the word ecosystem has been used by the author. He says here, and I will just scroll down here. So it says here that the mall was an ecosystem unto itself, a combination of community and commercialism. So, why ecosystem? Because it was a combination of community and commercialism. The author calls a mall an ecosystem. Why? Because it was a commercial place as well as a gathering place. Is it true? So, yes, it was a commercial place as well as a gathering place, definitely, because it matches with the options. Now, the point is, many of you might feel like marking A. Now, what is wrong with A? It says here people of all ages from all walks of life went there. Now, ecosystem is not created just by people. Please understand. Ecosystem is not created just by people. Ecosystem is created by many things. So if you look at the ecosystem in the environment, it is not created only by the flora and the fauna and the animals. It is created by the plants, by the weather, by the insects. Everything come together and they create an ecosystem. So why should you only include people of all ages? It's a gathering place, it's a commercial place, you have people coming in, you have products coming in, you have salesmen coming in, lots of things coming together. That's the reason why it's an ecosystem. So all of the other options go out. I mean, you just not capture the essence. Option C captures that. Fourth question says, why does the author say that the mall has been America's public square? Now, the mall has been America's public square. It has been given here, right? A growing number of Americans, however, so this is the different. Think of your mall, right? And it has been America's public square. Why do you think a mall is America's public square? Because everyone meets there, right? It says it was the home. So the mall is both. The mall is a workplace, it's a gathering place. Everyone gathered there. The food was lousy, parking was problem, but it was America's public square. Why? Because you had grandmother, you had people dating there, you had the home of the first job. So lots of things are happening, right? Where happening? So, what does the author say that the mall has been America's public square? Because malls did not bar anyone from entering the space. Maybe that could be also the reason. Malls were a great, but is it they did not bar? Is this the focus? Malls were a great place to shop for a huge section. Again, is it only for the shopping? No, the author says that malls were more than shopping. So B definitely goes out. C says malls were a hangout place where families grew. Why only families? So the way you say to shop, why only shopping? Why only families? It should be for everyone. So if you look at the word, malls were a great place for everyone to gather. Now everyone basically means everyone is coming together. What happens in a public square? A public square is a place where everyone comes, hangs out, meets people, they talk to others. So public square has been equated to a mall. Why? Because everyone could come and interact. Why should you only say that families grew closer to each other? Why only families? Someone who is not married can also come closer to someone who is not married. So see, it goes out. It is too narrow a choice. And B talks about to shop. Now, why should we say only shopping? You don't go to a public square to shop. And then A says malls did not bar anybody from entering. It was a public square because people could interact, not because malls did not bar. That is not the highlight. See, understand, you have to get the crux of the matter. D is the right choice and the right answer. Definitely the easiest and the correct one. The author describes perfume clouds in the department stores in order to. So to go and check where perfume clouds have come, right? So here we have perfume clouds, correct? The author has used the word perfume cloud somewhere. It is here in this paragraph. He says, think of your mall, or think of the one you went to as a kid. Think of the perfume clouds in the department stores, the fountains splashing below the skylights. So the author says, think of something, think of the place where you went as a kid. Now, what is he trying to do? He's trying to tell us that you bring back to memories all those things, or trying to evoke all those things, right? So can I say that he's evoking memories by painting a picture of the malls? Because you went to a mall, you found something, there was a smell of the spices, there was a smell of the food, there was a smell of the grains. So the author says that he's evoking memories by painting a picture of the malls. Right. That's the reason why he says think of the perfume clouds in the department stores. Think of means try to recollect. And therefore he's definitely evoking memories. A is the right choice. B says describe the smells and sights. Is it only about describing the smells? What is the purpose? So the question says that he is definitely describing the smells, but then what? In order to do what? B is not capturing that. He's not emphasizing on brands. So all the other options take things literally. A is the best choice and the right answer.